What's up, everyone? Alex here. So I was in the middle of editing another video, and then this news dropped today, which honestly, I'm still shocked about it. And I wanted to make this video real quick to kind of chronicle my own thoughts and feelings about this and just what's happening with GameStop as a whole. And in case you missed it, Game Informer, which has been around for 33 years, is getting shut down by GameStop. Like, I'm just going to read what IGN wrote about it. It said, Game Informer has announced that it is shutting down after 33 years after GameStop reportedly told the publication it was closing immediately, they were all laid off, and that it would begin receiving severance terms. Game Informer took to Twitter to share the news, saying, after 33 thrilling years of bringing you the latest news, reviews, and insights from the ever-evolving world of gaming, it is with a heavy heart that we announce the closure of Game Informer. From the early days of pixelated adventures to today's immersive virtual realms, we've been honored to share this incredible journey with you, our loyal readers, the post continues. While our presses may stop, the passion we have for gaming that we've cultivated together will continue to live on. Thank you for being part of our epic quest, and may your own gaming adventures never end. Kotaku has reported that Game Informer staff was brought into a meeting on Friday, today, with GameStop's VP of HR. In the meeting, they were told the publication was closing immediately, they were all laid off, and they would receive severance terms. So something that they've said before. Game Informer magazine content director Kylie Hilliard took to X/Twitter to share more about the shocking news, revealing that the team was about 70% done with the next issue, and it was going to have a great cover. Kyle basically tweets, Game Informer has been closed down by GameStop, and the entire incredibly talented staff, including myself, have all been laid off. A frustrating turn of events, considering we were about 70% done with the next issue. It was going to have a great cover. Game Informer video lead confirmed on X and Twitter that there are many members on staff who didn't even know what was happening. There are still people on staff who don't know what's happening yet. There's a tweet that someone higher up posted spilling the news. I'll have some stuff to say later today, but yes, everyone at Game Informer was laid off about an hour ago. It is 9:55 right now as I'm recording this. That tweet was about 8:57 a.m. local time. Just to kind of give a little bit of a background what Game Informer was. Game Informer was founded in August 1991 when Funcoland began publishing an in-house newsletter. GameStop took over Game Informer when it purchased Funcoland in 2000, and it became the longest-running video game magazine in the world. In 2011, Game Informer was actually the third largest magazine in the US, regardless of what industry it is, with over 8 million copies in the wild. Game Informer's website has been around since '96. Okay, so there's a lot of info to digest here, but I just want to say that while I am in this space as an influencer and as a content creator, I can't help but feel connected to what's happening with Game Informer, because once upon a time, I was a member of Funcoland. Like, I used to work there as an employee, and, you know, we were peddling, like, Game Informer subscriptions alongside the annual memberships. And, you know, and I was actually proud of that looking back. Like, at first, I was kind of like, it's, you know, it's kind of like a weird value add, but getting a magazine with that monthly subscription felt really good because you got a discount with the games, and then you basically had this really cool magazine that you got to take home with you. And we got like freebies and stuff because we were employees, and so this was always really, really good. And it also helped the staff themselves be aware of what's going on in every part of the industry, not just like a small segment of it. Because in these days, while we do have a lot of different websites, and of course I report on JRPGs, it's very difficult to get like a little kind of snapshot of what's really going on in every single facet of the industry. Like, you know, a JRPG person like myself, like, I have to actually go beyond my scope to see what else is happening elsewhere. And honestly, if you're asking me, I think that GameStop stopping Game Informer from existing and not just scaling down is a complete mistake, because they don't know that there is actually a resurgence of physical meetings and happenings going on in other industries. And pardon me for stepping away from video games for a moment here, but a company like Barnes & Noble. Barnes & Noble has been around for a long time, and for the longest time, they've had struggles with, just existing because of Amazon. And it wasn't until James Daunt, who is the new CEO of Barnes & Noble, recognized that, how like everything is centralized in Barnes & Noble and everything is corporate, we need to get away from that and serve the local market. And this was like in 2018 or something like that. And literally like several years later, we're in 2024 right now, the company is actually on an upswing, and instead of closing down stores, they're actually thinking of opening new stores. And it's because of this shift towards the local market, like actually like taking care of the local community. And this is also backed up by the fact that there's a huge prevalence of board gaming and D&D gaming, much more so than like multiplayer gaming for online games. And I think the reason for this is that people are actually sick and tired of dealing with like just angry children that are just yelling at people, and just angry gamers in general playing these online games with absolutely like no consequence whatsoever. People can just run amok. And so people are trying to find and almost rebel against an online culture where they're being encouraged to be just, like really bad people. And that's not all. I've also read that 7-Eleven, yes, that 7-Eleven, is trying to pivot towards serving the local communities by offering much healthier food and offerings that, that make it an alternative to like any other like grocery store out there. So that way, like it changes the image of 7-Eleven. Again, there's this focus on the local community. And guess what GameStop is doing? It's not going towards that direction of catering towards the local market. They're becoming increasingly more corporate. In fact, Reggie from Nintendo used to be part of the board of directors at that company. And then within a year, he left because, and this is something that he said in his book and other interviews, he said, like, they're not actually interested in innovating in this space. They're just basically a corporate company that is trying to even, kind of shore up the fact that it's a more corporate company than it is. Whereas Barnes & Noble, which by the way used to own GameStop, is kind of flipping the script on that. Now, what does this have anything to do with Game Informer? Well, Game Informer is that connection to the community. It helped the community actually like come back to GameStop and actually reinforce the idea that, hey, at least we can trust, even though like a lot of us haven't really been to GameStop in a long time. Like I sure haven't. I haven't been there in like 3 years. Game Informer was our connection to GameStop. Like I would literally like just go in there and maybe buy like an issue of Game Informer if it had something that I was interested in. In fact, the last issue that they had was about, Dragon Age Veilguard, which I'm really interested in. And to think that that is literally the last issue of Game Informer that I'll ever own, it really saddens me. I know that many of you trust us to deliver a lot of information out there. And, I think though what this means, Game Informer shutting down after 33 years, is sadly the product of a business model for not just a physical magazine, but also an online video game news website. Now, I'm not talking about like YouTube channels, because I think that because we're run by individual people, and I'm talking about like sites like, channels like myself, David Vink, and all these other individual YouTubers that have their own channels. Not talking about bigger ones that have full teams whatsoever. It just shows how unsustainable of a business model that is to help those people, kind of thrive and be creative. They're kind of latched down by this weird profit model, especially with their parent company, whoever owns them. And I shudder to think at what happens with sites like How Long to Beat or GameFAQs, who were bought by a bigger company, and what would happen if those websites become less profitable, right? Like that's always been kind of like the weirdness of that whole community of creators, where they really value the number of clicks that they get, the number of views that they get. Now, I'm not saying that that's not important to us. That's not what I'm saying at all. But when that single view is responsible for the paychecks of more than 30 or 40 people, I'm afraid for a lot of websites out there. And I hope that these guys will, I have a feeling these guys are actually going to be content creators themselves, because they're all passionate and they all have fans, and they're going to be backed by you or I and stuff, and they're gonna thrive beyond Game Informer. But I think what I really do want to say is that I think GameStop is doing some really terrible choices by doing this, and I'm really curious what's going to happen to them, because I don't think that company is going to be sustainable within the next year or two. Just my thoughts. But in any case, like, I just want to end it that way, and I'm sorry that it's not so uplifting, but it's to me, like, I'm seeing all of these trends to, you know, take care of our local community. And, you know, one thing that I wanted to do, and I'm gonna announce it here, is that at Portland Retro Gaming Expo, I am planning a meetup. So let me know if you're gonna be in town for that, because I do live in Portland, Oregon. But more importantly, I think that as the years progress, even channels like ours, it's going to be more important to start meeting people locally to really support like our growth beyond the scope of the internet. Because right now, like, I think online is cool, but I'm more interested in meeting people in person. Maybe, you know, that means like I'll be in panels. I don't really know. I don't really do panels, but I'd love to meet more people in person and to maybe prove GameStop wrong. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I'm ranting right now, because I'm really passionate about this, and those people at Game Informer didn't deserve this treatment at all. Nobody does. And so I want to hear from you. Let me know if you've ever subscribed to Game Informer, what you thought of the magazine, even if it's like something that, you know, maybe has disenchanted you with it. And GameStop, if you still go to GameStop, why are you still going? And also, are you a member of their paid subscription model, whatever it is nowadays? And I'm curious, like, what your history is, if you even went to Funcoland, because I sure did. Like, I used to be an employee there for a long time ago, back in like 2000 and stuff. But anyways, post your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about it. And hopefully you have a great weekend, because there's going to be a really cool video coming out on Sunday, just to plug there a little bit. And I'm going to go back to editing my review of something. So until then, I'll see you guys later. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.